guys, welcome back to another video. So let's talk a little bit here about Perfect Dark. As we know, Perfect Dark was revealed back in 2020. It's a highly anticipated reboot first-party game exclusive coming from Xbox. And I think some people were expecting this game to show up at this year's Xbox showcase. I had zero expectations for it just based off of a lot of the stuff that we have heard so far about Perfect Dark. And now we have some more info here that Perfect Dark, the reboot, is still many years away. So basically, recap here as to what has happened with the initiative and with Perfect Dark. There was a report that came out earlier that had a number of anonymous employees that were cited from the initiative saying that the studio had yet to even figure out the game's core mechanic when the trailer was revealed. So they didn't know exactly how this game was going to play. There's always that question, is this going to be first person like, the original ones, the N64 and the one that was on the Xbox 360, or are they going to do something similar to like a Tomb Raider style game and go to a third person and make it a third person action adventure game? So maybe that's what they're referring to here. But the project has also been hit by many roadblocks, from the pandemic to the direction from management, all this type of stuff. There was a big report that did come out where people were leaving the initiative, and I actually don't think that was a very big deal. I thought that was actually extremely normal. It was definitely blown up into something much bigger than it probably actually was. I believe Matt Booty also even said that the media made it bigger than it really was. But basically what had happened was Dare Gallagher, the studio head, had finally decided on the direction they wanted the game to go, and that direction was going ahead and using Crystal Dynamics to help co-develop this game, a studio that he used to be at, he's very familiar with, obviously knows a lot of people there, and that was a decision that some people just didn't agree with, and they decided to leave the initiative, which I don't think, again, is a bad thing, because you have to eventually get the ship moving in one direction, or wheels will just continuously be spinned and the game probably won't end up as good as it could be. And this is a quote here that the initiative developer had told IGN, saying, "It was not that we didn't know what we wanted, it was that we kept making things that weren't what we wanted. We do it over and over again. The levels we had when I left weren't the same ones we had 3 months prior or 3 months prior to that. I don't know why people just kept hitting the reset button. That was definitely contributing to that feeling that we weren't making any progress. People kept starting over." And I look at this and I see some of the stuff that did come out in that article where people were leaving the initiative after they had made this decision. And it sounded like to me that people were probably just upset that their creative visions weren't the ones that were going to be pushed forward with this game when they decided to go with the new co-developer Crystal Dynamics. And I think Crystal Dynamics is amazing. I love the games that they have made. Like I said, even the Tomb Raider games, the reboot of the trilogy, I think are incredible, which is why when I'm thinking about Perfect Dark, I was thinking potentially they would maybe go in that direction where it would be more along the lines of a third-person action adventure game. But obviously, the nostalgia and the history of Perfect Dark is that first person, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's what they end up going with. But when it comes to when we are going to be seeing this game, sources are saying that the game will likely need at least 2 or 3 more years before it is ready for release. And I don't think that's actually a very big deal whatsoever. If we look at what is cooking in the Xbox first-party pipeline, even just look ahead to 2024 with the 3 games we already know that are slated for that year, and there will probably be 1 or 2 more after that. But Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Hellblade 2, and Avowed. So 3 massive games already slated for 2024, and who knows what else is next. And then we are seeing things like Clockwork Revolution, which doesn't have a release date. That may be something for 2025. But there are just so many games that are coming out from Xbox in the next couple of years, and then like a Fable as well, who knows when that one's coming, but just so many games in their pipeline that they can let a lot of these games cook, even if they are ready, and then release them when there's more of a dry period, or have a schedule so they make sure to hit the 3 to 4 games every single year from a first party perspective, to keep that excitement for Xbox and to keep the excitement for Xbox Game Pass. So if you're expecting Perfect Dark anytime soon, don't. It won't be coming out for at least another couple of years. I guess the question is, does that mean even next year we won't see anything from them at the Xbox Game Showcase? If this is true, if it's at least 2 or 3 more years before it's ready to release, and we've heard how people talk about it's a lot of work to get gameplay trailers ready, or just trailers in general, and Xbox doesn't want to show anything until they're sure that the game is ready to show, we may not even see anything from Perfect Dark next year. But let's jump over here to another exclusive, and that is Starfield. So there was an interesting announcement yesterday, and it has to do with a partnership that will benefit players on Xbox and PC, but it is a partnership with AMD. And they're saying here that the company has been working with Bethesda to optimize Starfield on Ryzen 7000 series processors and Radeon 7000 series graphics cards, as well as Xbox consoles. And they're saying AMD claims that this will result in accelerated performance and an enhanced quality of gameplay using highly multi-threaded code. Specifically, Todd Howard had this to say about this partnership. He says, "We have AMD engineers in our code base working on FSR2 image processing and upscaling, and it looks incredible. You're going to get the benefits of that, obviously, on your PC, but also on Xbox." So it's interesting for a couple of reasons here. One, we are seeing now specifically on Xbox, they are going to be utilizing Fidelity FX Super Resolution and the tools that were promised at the beginning of this generation that came with RDNA 2 and AMD that would help take the load off of these consoles for games that use a lot of resources, where you would get a great looking game without reducing the actual performance of the game. Now, we do know this game is 30 FPS on the consoles itself, but if it is a steady 30 FPS and it feels good, the FSR2 image processing could be one of those reasons that allows it to stay at a steady, solid frame rate while having very high fidelity. The other interesting thing here is the fact that if you're on PC, and a lot of people have NVIDIA graphics cards, you're not going to be having DLSS for this game. And I wonder how that's going to go over with a lot of people playing this on PC. So we'll see what happens. But overall, I mean, if you're on the Xbox side of things, it's good to see that they actually are utilizing the features like FSR2. Well, let's jump over here to a couple of things to end off this video. First of all, we have a tweet here from Patrick Wren, and Patrick Wren is a senior encounter designer on Jedi Survivor and a former senior multiplayer designer on Halo. And he's commenting here on the FTC trial, that is something that was brought up within the trial, which was an email from Phil Spencer to Jim Ryan. And in that email, it seemed like Jim Ryan was concerned over degraded Call of Duty on PlayStation in terms of release time, quality, and amount of bugs. And this is something we've continuously saw throughout this entire saga of PlayStation versus Xbox, and PlayStation trying to block this deal using arguments that Xbox is going to go out of their way to release a worse Call of Duty on PlayStation. Now, we know that isn't going to be the case. Microsoft and Xbox, Phil Spencer, they've already come out multiple times and saying that they will release the exact same Call of Duty across all the platforms that it is on. And not only that, you just sit back logically and you think about it, it would make absolutely no sense to release a worse version of Call of Duty on PlayStation, where there's a massive player base there. It would reflect poorly on Xbox as being able to develop games and manage their studios. We saw what happened with Redfall, where the media backlash was huge, and it was because of those reasons that people were saying this is Xbox not being able to manage their studios, not being able to develop high quality games. They obviously don't want any of that ever again put on them, although they have so many studios and so many games, maybe it will happen again. But with Call of Duty, that is not something that they would want to do. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And we have Patrick Wren here calling it out, saying no game dev willingly tries to put out an inferior release with less quality and more bugs. No one would do that. We want to make things that people enjoy, and we'll always try to ship the best product despite any circumstances. For Jim Ryan to suggest otherwise, that is asinine. So him calling that out, and from a developer's perspective, I think is an interesting thing here. And then we also have this. And one of the main arguments that the FTC was trying to make yesterday was how the subscription model is a separate market from the traditional business model for playing video games. The FTC economic expert, Mr. Robin Lee, was brought up and was asked questions, and he did quantitative analysis about subscription services. And Judge Corley responded to all of the stuff that he talked about and couldn't see that there was a difference between subscription services and the traditional gaming market. It says here, Judge Corley then asked him how subscription services are a separate market, saying it seemed like just a different way to pay for games. Even comparing it to Netflix, Prime, or Apple, Judge Corley said it would be less likely for users to switch if they already get content on subscription services. So one of the main arguments that they were trying to make here, the judge you can kind of see her line of thinking that it doesn't really make sense to separate out subscription from the traditional business model when it comes to purchasing video games. And we will see how this affects the final decision as we are coming through to the last 2 days of this trial. So it is getting closer where a decision will be made, but we are definitely seeing hints as to kind of where it's leaning. It definitely seems like it is leaning closer to being in Microsoft's favor. But again, 2 days, a lot can change. But I think this year is something that is pretty big, because one of the arguments that they were trying to make as to why they should be blocking this deal is because cloud gaming subscription is different from the traditional market, the traditional way people purchase games, traditional console market, all of that type of stuff. And if the judge doesn't believe that, that will be a big blow to the FTC's case. But I'm going to leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.